at the end?
Arino, A-R-I-E-N.
No, the first name, Carol.
No.
Carol, C-A-R-O-L.
That's how I spell it.
Yeah. Some people do it with
With an E.
My middle name is C-A-R-R-O-L-L.
Oh, is it really? Oh.
So we have too many Carols.
Yeah.
So too many
my
Carols
niece-
here at the
my niece's
Apple Cider
last
meeting?
name is Carol.
So Steve, what
October
did you do?
13th.
Do an airplay to the TV?
Yeah.
Okay. I brought my time capsule. If you can get a chance during this meeting to work on it, that would be great.
Okay. What we did at Kevin's didn't work?
Well, it did, but the problem was I wanted to put a long 63-character password on it.
Ooh.
And,
Why?
of course, they force you to type it.
Yeah.
And they don't show you what you're typing.
Yep.
And I managed to do it successfully.
Oh, and then, but then
But
you
then-
gotta put that in the second time?
But then when it came time to try to access it that way, it wouldn't let me access it. So I made it so secure that even I can't get into it. And of course the problem with that is then I couldn't set it up so that Carol could actually use the time capsule to back up to.
Oh, speaking of that,
16 characters is probably enough.
Well, once you got it,
32 would be overkill. 64 is ridiculous.
copy it and then create a dead
at the meeting the other
file
night, there was
and
a
paste
gentleman
it in
who
as
moved
the
up.
name
He
of the
was
file.
They
sitting
won't
next
let you
to me.
paste it.
He has a little iPad, and then
It's something about the
says
Apple
that,
router. They won't let you paste a
you don't
password
have any
into
idea
it.
what I
No.
mean?
You have to type it.
Well,
Yeah, that's a security precaution, so someone can't copy your password.
Yeah, I know. It's a pain in the
he
ass.
had the same iMac. Well, I can't talk.
You drink coffee or we got
the
ginger ale,
same
cider?
laptop I
I'll
have, the
probably have something a little later.
Pro.
I just had
From
one.
2013,
Okay.
and he said it just suddenly
Thanks.
died. And
Cheese
he
and
said,
crackers,
but he
cantaloupe.
he had it backed up
Sounds
because he uses the iCloud. And I said, that's not enough.
Yeah, iCloud
So,
doesn't back up your computer.
So I don't know. I don't know who he was. He's some kind of. Where did you sit? Were you sitting behind me?
Yeah. I wasn't
Do
like
you know the man that
second row or something.
that came and he sat? There were two seats, and can't remember what he asked questions about. He uses a little, like a.
iPad?
No, he doesn't use an iPad. Little Apple computer, trailable, but then he uses all that. Why can't I talk? The words aren't coming out. Oh my God! I hope I'm not having a stroke.
Do you smell toast?
no.
Yeah, if it's burning toast, you're
Yeah.
in trouble.
Is that a sign?
That's a sign.
Oh, do you know that if you have a pain, up by your shoulder blade, that's gallbladder? Do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could also get a pain in the
Although,
back. And that can be hard.
Yeah. See, I have a pain in my back, but I don't have my gallbladder anymore, so it's
Okay.
it's a similar pain in a similar location, but it's not that now.
It's a symptom, but I had that pain up by my shoulder blade, and then eventually had my gallbladder out, and my sister was a nurse. Said, "Did you have?" You asked me about it. I said, "Yes, I did," but I mean, I just didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Part of me is wondering, I have to go back and see if they removed the common bile duct that goes between the liver and the gallbladder,
Oh.
because that could technically still get a gallstone.
Yeah.
So they probably did, and then sealed off the liver.
You would hope they
But yeah, 64 character password is probably a little overkill for a time capsule. There's a nice website we've talked in the past, Password Haystacks. Okay.
Wait,
From
does
GRC.
everybody have time? I mean, do we pay for time capsule?
Yeah. Although Apple is a little confusing on the time capsule. They're not making any more.
Yeah.
But we can still. There's plenty of them in the channel to buy, and we are still buying them, and we're still selling them. We're currently still recommending them because they're the easiest to set up, especially for an Apple user.
So it's not in the system. It's the actual device.
Yeah, it's a network router and a backup drive.
Yeah, you use Time Machine to back up to your time capsule, which is a hard drive and a router built in one unit.
Okay, because see, I thought I had went and worked with Steve one, makeup one day.
Yeah, here I'll show
I
you.
thought my.
That's a time capsule.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
this
that's
is
a
the
relatively old
style.
one. Yeah, the new
And
one.
the new
So
style,
it's tall and skinny,
yeah.
and we think so that you won't stack stuff on top of it, because everything you put on top of it blocks the radio signal. So that one is short and flat. It's very easy to pile stuff on top of.
Yeah. And I do.
Yep.
But it doesn't bother it that much.
Speaking of signal, like sometimes when I'm talking to somebody on my phone and the other phone too, I get an echo.
Yeah.
What is that from?
The microphone picking up the earphone.
Yep.
So the speaker is
You're getting a feedback.
right. The speaker
Yeah.
is making noise. The microphone is picking that up,
And so it's sensitive.
and so it loops
You hear
again.
the echo.
If the microphone is too close to the speaker, then eventually it amplifies itself and the speaker goes nuts.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't understand. On my phone, what do you mean I don't understand.
Yeah, the microphone at the bottom and the speaker at the top.
So is it like if I'm holding it like this, is it?
If you're holding it anyway, the microphone is hearing what the speaker is
And
putting out.
sometimes
Well-
it's not you; it's the person you're talking to at the other end.
Right. Their phone could be echoing you back to you.
Okay, well, I really have this problem mostly with my brother. He has a flip phone, but he says I'm the only one he has the problem with. Or, well, he doesn't hear the echo. He can't hear me. But I hear the
So
echo.
he can't hear you, and you hear yourself twice.
Right,
So you stole his hearing.
right. That's right. So what's the solution?
Use a headset.
Well, this is my brand new phone.
You can't violate the rules of physics.
Well, why doesn't everyone have this problem?
Many people do.
Many people do.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, then why don't you have it with everyone you talk to?
Because some people have phones that aren't as liable to feedback.
Yeah.
Well, what makes the feedback?
The microphone is too close to the speaker.
But they're built inside. So
Yeah.
is my phone defective?
No.
No.
That's just the way electronics work.
Okay. All right. And then, because you can get feedback from a hearing aid,
Right.
right?
Because the hearing aid has a microphone that picks up everything and a speaker that puts it in your ear.
Okay, got
And they're
it.
even closer together on a hearing aid than they are on a phone.
Okay.
So the chance of feedback is much more. Chance of feedback is higher. Gee, I lost my thought. You're rubbing off on me.
Passing it on.
The louder your volume, the more chance you'll get feedback. Because the louder the volume is, the better the microphone will pick it up.
Oh, okay. Because see, I always have mine on the loudest. Because if it rings, and I want to be able to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Well, you can have the ringer volume separate from the speaker volume.
This meeting reminds me of when we used to have Q&A at your old place.
Yep. I was even thinking that we could, if we need to, meet at my office. That be a little frustrating because I work at the office in Victor, then I have to go to Greece for the
You'd have to go all the way back.
yeah, and then have to go all the way back to Victor for the meeting.
Yeah.
But we did that before when we met at the Menden office
Wait.
when we had more people.
You have more than one office?
Not at the moment, but we used to have an office in Menden, and the Saturday meeting would meet there.
Yeah, but then it was
okay.
the toilet that screwed everything up. We couldn't meet there anymore.
Yeah. So going back to your 64-character password, it would take 13,000 trillion centuries to break it.
Okay, that's what I like.
But if you
never
use-
ever have to worry about
Yeah.
anybody breaking into it. Not even if they have a quantum computer.
But if you use just 16 characters, it will take 26 centuries.
Oh, I see.
If you put a capital letter in, now we're at 100,000 centuries.
Oh, okay.
And if we
So you're right. I am doing way overkill.
Yeah. If we put a symbol in, now we're at 100 million centuries. So you might have been mistaking that with 16 or 64-bit password. A 64-character password is 64 characters times 8 bits, which is a huge number. 64 times 8 is 512 bits. So you're using a 512-bit password. Now, for internet back and forths, internet encryption, we're using AES 256. So we're using a 256-bit internet password, and that is slowly being replaced by 512-bit.
Yeah.
But we just got away from SHA-1, which was 128-bit, and not everyone supports SHA-2 yet, which is 256-bit.
Well, eventually they want to move to 4096.
Well, that's different. There's a difference between asymmetric encryption and symmetric encryption. So the symmetric encryption that you use on web pages is generally only 256-bit between you and the other end.
Oh, here's Carol.
Yep. And so a password you create, your end can be... Hi, Carol. Your end can be different than the other end.
Either the rocking chair or next to me, and she can.
Yeah, I can move. I've just got stuff spread
I would
everywhere.
actually like a rocking chair. If that's
Okay,
Nice.
you can sit in the rocking chair.
You sit next to him all the time. I want to sit next
Yeah,
Oh, that's
she's used to it.
Yep.
Bob, what's your email address?
Robert Hoy at Mac.com.
So on the website encryption, we're using 2048-bit as the standard, and some companies have started using 4096-bit. Yeah. 512-bit has been weakened. 1024-bit is okay. 768-bit was weakened. There was a research paper that showed how 768-bit encryption could be broken within a few years. So rather than hundreds of centuries.
So,
and that's on the average, which means that you could.
what is
Could be less.
GoDaddy recommending now?
I don't know. In general, security certificates, right now they're recommending 2048. But 4096 is also okay. The problem is the other end has to support the same thing. So one of the big problems companies ran into is that in the move from SHA-1 to SHA-256, it got delayed for adoption because there were millions of websites that couldn't accept it, and operating systems that couldn't accept 256-bit encryption, and so that delayed it a few years, mostly until the weaknesses of SSH1 started being shown, and that sort of forced the industry to upgrade. And if you're running a very old OS, then you might end up seeing a message that you can't make a secure connection because you don't support the latest security protocols. So it's all the people still running Windows XP now
That's how
can't
far behind
get
I
into
am
the latest.
in my emails.
So let's encrypt that you were showing off the other night.
Mhm.
That's only 256.
It's SHA 256, which uses a 256-bit key to generate a 2048-bit encryption. So it gets a little confusing about the key. The key value is separate from the encryption value. Yeah.
Okay.
So your SSL certificate uses 256-bit encryption. That's the standard security encryption. And so it takes that 256-bit key, generates the encryption at 2048 bits. Yeah.
Okay, now what you're looking at here, that there were like little ad things that said. See, I would not click on any.
Mm-hmm.
See, like all HTTP pages now labeled not secure. Learn more. I'm afraid to do anything because of.
Yep, it's very hard to tell what's
Yeah, 'cause some
a
of them are
legitimate
really
ad and what's a
good.
fake ad.
Some of them look like they
So did
belong
somebody buy
there.
GoDaddy?
No, GeoTrust is their SSL branded company, I think.
Okay.
Or actually, no, I just no. See, I'm wrong. I just made a mistake.
You went
I
to-
searched for GoDaddy, and I got an ad for GeoTrust.
Uh-huh.
So
That's what's.
I didn't notice the little ad there for GeoTrust because I was trying to go right into the GoDaddy. I wanted this one, the GoDaddy SSL.
Uh-huh.
So this is an ad for GoDaddy. So not unsurprisingly, GoDaddy bought an ad for their own name.
Yeah.
So, is it ever okay to click on something that's labeled an ad? I mean, how do you know if it's a legit ad or not?
Yeah, that's the big question. How do you know if it's a legit ad or
If
not?
that comes
So-
in, it's those ads.
They don't always say
You're
ad either, right?
Well,
Is there-
Google tries to point out what's an ad and what's a
Tries to
search
find
result.
out what's an
So
ad.
I searched for GoDaddy, so it's safe to click on an ad for GoDaddy.
Okay.
And when you're doing a search, it's especially important to keep track of what these ads are, so that you don't go to somewhere by mistake, which I did because I
Yeah.
wasn't paying attention. Rapid SSL I've also heard of, but if we go into GoDaddy certs, now we can see what their SSL is. So getting an SSL cert, SSL stands for Secure Socket Layer, and that's how you encrypt data on your website. It used to be very expensive, thousands of dollars a year to get an encryption certificate. Prices have been driven down, and so GoDaddy, as low as $60 a year, right now on sale. So it's $75 when you renew next year. And they're offering the SHA-2 is the 256-bit, and then they have the 2048-bit. Let's Encrypt is a company, well, a nonprofit organization that has started offering free encryption certificates. So their Let's Encrypt certificate will encrypt between you and the other end, so that anyone that wants to can get an encryption certificate for their website.
So is that one at 2048 as well then?
Let's see. It's using SSA 256, so it's a 256-bit key with 2048-bit. It's a 2048-bit key with 256-bit encryption.
Okay.
So I had that backwards earlier.
Okay. And does that work with Apache? Apache 2, I should say.
Probably.
Okay.
They have automated. So the one thing about Let's Encrypt. Let me go back in here so I can find it. Let's Encrypt certificates expire. I think it's 90 days. There's a problem in the security certificate community with companies that either go out of business or get purchased, and their certificates, or they lose their encryption keys, but their certificates are still valid. And so there's no functional way, I'm trying to talk and read at the same time here, to mark a certificate as revoked versus expired. So all the web browsers look for expired certificates. So here it is. So this certificate was issued in July and expires in October of the same year, 2018. When you buy your own cert from a larger company, you can get usually 1, 3, maybe a 5-year cert. If you don't plan on dissolving your company, then you can get a longer cert. But Let's Encrypt gives you the 90-day certs, so that if there's a problem with the certificate, then it doesn't hang around very long.
Yeah.
And they have automated tools that you can put into your web server so that it will automatically update the certificate every 90 days.
Oh, okay.
That takes a little bit of work at your end, if you're hosting the server yourself. So we use DreamHost, and so they're doing all that for us. We just had to apply for the certificate, and then DreamHost is doing it all. There was a problem with Symantec's certificate business. They were issuing certificates inappropriately. They were issuing certificates that had too high a privilege to let other people issue certificates. And there were tens of thousands of certificates that were found to be fraudulent. And Symantec didn't address it properly. So the certificate organization revoked Symantec's license, basically. So a certificate, you're printing money. It's you give them, you know, it used to be thousands of dollars, and they type a few things in the computer, and okay. And so the certificate community revoked Symantec's license. The browsers have started to stop trusting Symantec certificates. So in essence, Symantec had to get out of the certificate business, and they sold their client list to another company called DigiCert. And this happens every now and then when a company has been found to be not playing by the certificate rules. Mm-hmm. And so that's sort of an issue in this chain of trust, that we trust Let's Encrypt because they were encrypted. Their certificate was encrypted by someone higher up, which was encrypted by someone higher up. And these root certificates are the main companies that issue certificates. There has been, and so you can go into your keychain and look at the root certificates.
Didn't Symantec buy VeriSign?
Yeah, VeriSign was one of the first.
They were the first.
Yeah, VeriSign and Thought
Mm-hmm.
were one of the first companies that created certificates. And
VeriSign, I think, bought up Thought.
I think VeriSign bought Thought, and then Symantec bought VeriSign.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so you can look at your system roots. Now, Apple only has 169 system root certificates. There are over 400 actual trusted root servers. And so there was this sort of realization a few years ago is holy crap, my browser is trusting 400 companies to do the right thing and only issue proper certificates. Mm-hmm. And one of the examples that we always give, nothing against them, but the Hong Kong Post Office is a trusted certificate.
Yeah, well, it's owned by the Chinese
Which is owned by the Chinese government, yeah. And so you can, if you know what you're doing, go through and delete some of the root certificates you don't need to trust. The problem is you could run across a website that uses that trust, and then you can't get to that website. You can't create a secure link. Mm-hmm. Several browsers, Chrome is leading the pack, but Firefox and Safari and Edge are also going to do it. When you go to an encrypted page, you get the little padlock. If there's a problem with the encryption, you get a warning. Oftentimes the problem is a name mismatch. So if your certificate was signed by VeriSign, but it's coming back Symantec, that's a name mismatch, which is a valid error and okay to proceed. So you get an option to trust and proceed anyway. Mm-hmm. Certificates expire. And quite frequently, if they expire on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday morning, someone at the company hadn't noticed, and then you got to wait till Monday morning, or if it's a big enough company and enough of an uproar, they'll renew the certificate over the weekend. But most people don't understand the messages, and so they just click OK, trust anyway, which can be a bad thing. Mm-hmm. So now many browsers are starting to warn you when you go to an unsecure site. Mm-hmm. And the fear is we're training people just to click OK.
Yeah.
They're not looking at why it's not secure. They're just clicking OK, OK, OK. And one of the big examples we always use, I think that they fixed it, is paypa1.com. If you don't look very close, that looks like PayPal.
Yeah.
And you could go there. You would get a secure link because it was secure, but it's not PayPal.
Mm-hmm.
PayPal, when they found this happening, they bought that domain, and so that doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll also notice that in PayPal, the link is green. This is a higher level of security. This is extended validation. So in addition to so let me show the difference in these messages here. So if I go to Let's Encrypt, it's a black message.
Yeah, black. Yeah.
And this says encryption with a digital certificate keeps information private.
Mm-hmm.
So your data is encrypted on your computer,
Mm-hmm.
goes over the public internet, and is decrypted on the other computer. So no one along the way can sniff it. But that's all you get for free. If you pay, you can get an extended certificate. In addition to saying the digital encryption, the certificate issuer, in this case DigiCert, has gone to steps to verify that the company using that name, PayPal.com, is really PayPal.com.
Mm-hmm.
And so the browsers have now turned them green because it's a higher level certificate. The problem there is that PayPal1.com could prove they are PayPal1.com, and they would get an extended certificate too.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not, because that's obviously an attempt at trickery, but it is possible. And then there's another issue we're seeing now called the homograph attack, with the proliferation of spelled that wrong. Is it going to find it? Yes, it is. With the proliferation of non-Roman characters and the advance of Unicode, you can have letters. So this link here looks like it says wikipedia.org,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. The letters E and A are not English letters. They are Cyrillic letters.
Oh, great.
So that link is not wikipedia.org. It's something else, because computers are extremely literal. So the visual look is not the same as the actual
Mm-hmm.
link you're going to.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a, let me see if I can find it. Apple example. When the guy wrote a guy wrote an article about this. He used Apple.com as one of the examples, and let's see, carefully crafted. So which one is going to get me there? Yeah, so this is the blogger. So you can go to a website that looks like Apple.com. It has a secure extended encryption, but it isn't Apple.
No.
So if I go there, I've turned it off. If I go there, Safari has an option where you can turn off that feature. It's called Punicode, which is a short version of Unicode. So it's showing me the actual option. I want to find where you turn that off. And then it would actually show you the Apple.com. Or maybe it was Safari fixed it and Firefox lets you turn it off, on and off. Yeah, that's what it is. So if I went to the same page in Firefox, it would say Apple.com with an extended validation certificate, because the way the Punicode is designed, you can't zoom on the Apple TV.
I can see it.
Yeah. It doesn't show what you think it really is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to go someplace that it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And we have started seeing more and more sophisticated email attacks, website attacks. I've been keeping a list in email of my fake email messages. We have a couple of them that were really good.
So is there any quick, easy way to know those?
Generally speaking, when you point to a link, but there's a way to hide that too. So I'm pointing to the proof of concept link in the screen. In the bottom left corner, it's showing me the address it's really going to without the puny code. Let me see if Firefox still does that. When you're in your email, so here's an email I got from PayPal saying I bought a Walmart gift card.
Just never click on a link.
Well, see, that's the problem. You can say that in email, never click on a link. But when you're on the web, your whole point is to click on links. So when I point to a link, I should get a pop-out. There's where that link is really going. So you have to pay attention before you click on the link. Take a look to see if it's going to where it really is.
Okay.
If not,
This one down here, it says your Apple ID was logged
Yep.
into.
This is getting very popular with the bad guys. This one's not as good as some of the other ones. Some of them will actually put the Apple. Well, it's got a little Apple logo in it. So this is a fake email that says I logged in on this day with a Linux computer, and I better verify my account. But if I point to that, I'm
going
going
to take you to Apple.
not going to Apple.
Yeah.
Also, they used Apple's Sydney office.
So
So
that's a clue.
the guess is this was written by someone in Australia, but it emails worldwide. If they'd have used the Cupertino office, that might have tricked more people. Also, the from is not apple.com either. But that can be hidden. So all this stuff can be hidden because this isn't really an email, it's a web page.
That's right.
And all of our email programs have been designed to view web pages. So you can do pictures and graphics and fonts and colors and bold and underline. And then the bad guys can sneak in too. So you kind of have to get yourself into the habit of don't panic, especially on scary messages like this.
If you really want to know, go to Apple's website.
Yeah, so something like this, you would go to apple.com yourself and type that into your browser. But before you click on a link, point to it and see what pops up to make sure you're going to the place you're really going to. There's another one that says my ID was locked. So this one's a little bit cleaner. And now some of these links, let's see. Some of the links often will go to where they claim to be going. Now these links don't show anything. But that link is going somewhere else.
Because, like, if I in junk mail,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I get in junk mail from a site that I, or just I'll just use Macy's as one example. That I get Macy's all the time, and then but sometimes they go into junk. But then when I look at where it came from, it is the same as what went in my inbox, but not into junk.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it pick up that makes it suspect it's junk?
Yeah, this one worked. So junk mail filters are tricky. Repetition can make a browser email program think it's junk, but companies like Macy's and corporate people put out tens of thousands of legitimate email messages that can accidentally get marked as junk. If there's very little body and a whole giant signature, that can often be thought of as junk. You can mark a message as not junk, and you can add the sender to your address book so it won't be marked as junk. But the bad guys are always figuring out ways around junk mail filters, so junk mail filters almost don't do anything anymore. But going back to our homograph attack, so here in Firefox, this website, www.apple.com, and I have an EV certificate verified by Amazon that this company is secure, but it's not apple.com because the letters are not English characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so in Firefox, there's a way to turn that off. I usually leave it on to use this example. So back to Carol's question is it's very hard to know what's real and what's fake. We're a bit protected because we're on a Mac that there are no real viruses for the Mac. Pretty much any of the virus message you get is going to be fake.
But there are Trojans.
There are Trojans and there are malware. And the bad guys are lazy, we often say. And much easier than writing an actual virus is to write a message that says you have a virus. And so we almost have to acknowledge the ingenuity of the first bad guy that realized he could buy an ad, like everyone else buys ads. And you buy an ad that says you have a virus, and you trick people into calling your tech support number. Now, initially, I wanted to think that the tech support people didn't know any better. They just hired a tech support firm and gave them the script. You know, here's this and this and this, and they, if you go through, if you lead them on the phone, they will do everything they can to prove you really do have a virus. They'll have you open Netstat, and it will show you all the network connections. Look, every one of those connections is someone breaking into your computer. No, they're not. But technically, he's right. Because
We're trying to.
Because when he's on the phone with you, someone is trying to break into your computer.
Right.
Him.
Yeah.
And so it's easier for the bad guys to write a fake virus message than it is to actually write a virus. And there's a class of Trojan horses that masquerade as images, flash updates, and Java updates.
Yeah.
And so you'll get these messages that you need to update your Flash player, and you click on the button because you're used to updating your Flash player all the time. And it's a fake update, and it installs more malicious software to give you more ads and more malicious problems.
If you ever get one of those messages,
Just click no.
Get out.
So yeah, don't run Flash to
you
begin
can go
with.
to Adobe yourself.
Right. If you do run Flash, you can go to Adobe and install the Flash update yourself. You don't need to run Flash pretty much anymore. Most websites have moved to newer technologies. Flash is a 20-year-old technology. And the other thing we're seeing now is fake antivirus and fake anti-malware. And so you'll get messages. Part of this. Let me find a good one here. The fake antivirus programs, fake anti-malware programs will often use names that are very similar to a real program. They give you all these scary warnings, and they're usually installed by one of the fake Flash updates. And now you think you've got a virus, and so you pay them the money to clean your computer out.
They'll clean you out.
And they clean you out, yeah. So one of the things that we recommend is a program called Malwarebytes. Malwarebytes anti-malware from a company called Malwarebytes. They have a free version for home that you run and scan if you think you have any problems. So if you're seeing a lot of excessive pop-up windows claiming you have viruses, or getting messages that say there's a problem and you need to install our program, then you can install this, and it will clean your computer out legitimately. So Mac Cleaner, Advanced Mac Cleaner, Mac Keeper, Mac Fixer. There's dozens of fake cleaning programs.
That Mac Keeper comes up a lot.
Yep. Now, the Mac Keeper is kind of an interesting case because the company so it's technically not malicious, but it's crap.
Yeah.
And the company that writes it pays other people to advertise for it. So if you put a Mac Keeper ad on your website, they pay you. And so too many people put those ads out. And so I've seen websites that have 5 or 6 Mac Keeper ads, all coming from different companies. And then...
actually, until I asked you about it, I thought it was a good thing.
And so and they want you to pay for it. And it doesn't do anything that you can't get for free from other programs. They make a big thing about free for life until the next version comes out. Then you have to pay again. And so Malwarebytes has a free version that you run yourself. Then they have a pay version that runs automatically. And the pay version isn't that expensive. It's $30 a year, if I remember right. We'll bring this up. And it runs $40 a year. Or if you have multiple computers, then it gets cheaper. And it runs automatically and catches things before they get in. And some people like that peace of mind of having it run automatically. Some people run it manually whenever they want to. Bob's home Wi-Fi.
Airport Amos.
And for anyone listening on the internet, don't use that.
Come on in.
Any of Bob's neighbors, yeah.
So it's
Airport.
It's RHN.
Maybe
Is the
we should,
router.
RHN network.
turn off the input
It's
for the
too.
moment?
It's too late. He
Oh,
already
I don't
said
care.
it. So some people like that peace of mind of having it automatically run. Some people don't want to pay the money. Now, what's interesting is in most of the free antivirus, the free anti-malware, they have a free home version because they make up for it with the paid commercial versions or paid business versions. If not enough people pay for it, then they have to stop giving out the free version. Or they have to find a different business model.
Could you run that free version more than once?
Sure. Run it as many times as you want.
Which router is yours? Is it Chromecast?
No, RHN.
Oh, RHN.
Chromecast is my Chromecast. And the other one is Bravia, it's the TV.
What was the AVG? So AVG is a nice free antivirus
I
program.
just got it here. Do you want to share Wi-Fi password RHN with Rick Harrison?
Yeah, say yes.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I know, but I just because
So that helps that you don't have to type it again.
I still
You
did.
try it again.
Already
it says
2 B day now,
successful,
right?
complete successfully.
No, I didn't get it, so.
Well, let's see.
So AVG
Try
had,
it again.
was it AVG or VAST? I think it was AVG. Not enough people were paying for their free version, so they wrapped it in an ad wrapper. So when you install AVG, you get, I think, the Yahoo search bar. So some people don't like the fact that they're generating revenue that way,
Wait a minute.
Um,
Let's try it and see if it works.
but you can't blame them if not enough people are paying for the full version. That's the other thing that you get stuck with a lot is search hijackers or homepage hijacker. There's an ability, and we're very annoyed that it was built into the HTML spec, that a website can change your homepage. And so quite frequently you get a malicious ad that will change your homepage or change your search page to something that looks like Google or looks like Yahoo, but isn't. It's a malicious search engine. So then it actually tracks all your searches and gives you more ads. And so if you find that your normal search page doesn't come up anymore, or what you normally see when you open your browser doesn't look the same, you may have gotten hit by a fraudulent search page. So you would go to your preferences in your browser. So I'm in Safari, I go to preferences, and I've got my homepage set to Apple Cider. So if it ever changes, then I know something got into my machine to change it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the homepage hijackers actually run little programs in the background. So when you change the homepage, say back to Google, it will change it back to the malicious page.
Yep.
So that's when you have to run Malwarebytes to remove that malicious thing hiding in the background.
Now, I've run across websites that will just keep pounding you
Yep.
with the same thing, making it look like you really do have a virus, but you do.
Yeah.
So the thing to do is disconnect your Ethernet or shut down internet.
But if you have this, yeah.
Then clean it out, and then you'll be fine.
Yep. Usually what we tell our customers is to turn off the computer, wait a minute, turn it back on. Because especially if you're on a popular website, because that's where the bad guys advertise, they've found out about it at the other end and have removed it.
Yeah.
You were just lucky enough to find it first. So in that couple of minutes that, there's a malicious ad on CNN's website, 1 million people might have looked at it, and if 1% of those people clicked on it, the bad guy made their money.
Mm-hmm.
So if it keeps coming back, that probably means you've got something in your computer. But generally speaking, if it goes away, that does. There's also a new class of homepage hijackers that are using Apple's parental controls and management software. So a business can set their employees' computers. They can set the homepage to go to the company homepage. They can set the email to go to their email, the company email, and they can lock it down so you can't go anywhere else. So one of the search hijackers is using that process to lock your computer to their malicious search page. And it has to have your password for that. So it usually comes in as a fake Flash update, which then asks for your password. So you think you're installing Flash, and so you type your password, and you've installed the malicious program. So then if you go to your system preferences and see something called profiles, then you are infected with one of those hijackers. Unless you are on a company management system, and then you will have a profile.
So where do you see it?
I don't have it
Oh,
because I don't have any.
Where would you see it?
Somewhere in there. They used to have segregated lines for what each section is.
Yeah.
They don't anymore. But in the menu, it's alphabetical, so it would be in the P's for profile.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a little gear. Let me see if I can find it. The profile manager is how you create one. Does it have a little gear icon? Yeah, it looks like that, little gears. So it looks very similar to the settings icon to begin with. And if you do work for a company that sets stuff up on your computer, then you may have one of those. But usually average folks weren't. We had a customer come into the office a couple months ago who panicked over a Wired article that talked about it was a presentation at Black Hat to put malicious software on your computer before you buy it. And I'm never going to find it again. It's an exploit before you buy. And he was very upset and very concerned and paranoid that the brand new computer he just bought from Best Buy was infected with malicious software and wanted us to make sure we cleaned it out. It was still shrink wrapped. Part of because the presentation at Black Hat, which is a security conference, it was exploiting the mobile management system. So if you work for a company, they can send you a computer sealed in the box that's been registered to that company's management software. So the first time you turn on the computer, when it's setting itself up, it looks on the internet, sees if it's part of a management program, and starts downloading your company's software for you automatically. So if you happen to get a computer that was sold by a malicious vendor using a malicious management company, they could theoretically install software on your computer when you first turn it on. It doesn't come on the computer out of the box. It's not installed before you buy it. It's installed while you're setting it up. And the chance of you buying a computer from a malicious vendor using a malicious profiler are extremely tiny. But it is a chance.
So see, you should have bought it from you in the first place.
Yeah. Well, then he disputed everything we did, made us do it 3 times, and then canceled his check.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah.
And he brought it to you shrink wrap.
Yeah. And he installed management software on it so no one else could. And
Well, if it's
he
shrink-
didn't remember, well, he apparently didn't remember what management software he did because it had stuff on it. Then he took it to a security expert, friend of his father's, who said we did everything wrong and we shouldn't be trusted. So my first thought is, why didn't you take it to him in the first place? Let him do it new out of the box. Why come to us?
Yeah.
That we didn't do anything wrong. We did what he told us to.
Yeah.
That was a very frustrating experience.
So, do you have any recourse? Does Mick have any recourse?
Yeah, we sue him in small claims to get the money back. But at this point, we just want him to go away and be
Right.
gone.
It's just too much of a problem.
Yeah. So security is a big problem. So the password haystack, about how long your password is. Length isn't as important. Well, length isn't as important as complexity. But complexity doesn't mean not rememberable. So you can use uppercase letters and lowercase letters. And one of the things that's kind of neat is how that expands your alphabet. So if I use a number, there's only 10 possible combinations, 0 through 9. If I use a letter, there's only 26. If I use a capital letter and a lowercase letter, I've now got 26 capital, 26 lower. Now there's 52 possibilities. I put a number in. So now there's 62 possible combinations. And then if I use a common symbol, asterisk or exclamation point, I have more symbols. So you can use, one of the examples we like to give, to remember a strong password is 2 words separated by numbers. Or even better, numbers in the middle of one word. Because there's something called a dictionary attack, where the bad guys will feed a password into the dictionary, or feed a dictionary into the password. And if your password is a word, then they've cracked it. So if we do, let me try, what's one we like? Happy 34 monkey. That'll only take about 3 weeks to crack. Let's put a $ sign or exclamation on it. Now I'm at 200 centuries. And that password is relatively easy to remember, but still will take a very long time to crack. And in fact, in the keychain, when you're creating a password, there is a password generator built in. So I'm going to make I got to authenticate so I can make a new item. So if you're on a website and it wants to create a password, I'm going to go to new item. No, that's not where I wanted to go. I'll make a secure note that's locked under my main password. I want to make a new password. There we go. Not a new item, a new password. There we go. So when you're making a password, there's often a little key icon. And that key icon is Apple's password generator. So you can make a memorable password. We are with no scaling again. Let me see if I can scale this way. The larger text. Yeah, it's a little better. Let me see what that did to our stream. That's not too bad. I want to go back to keychain. So that little key will bring up a password generator, and so you can choose a memorable password. In this case, POEM 40 star NCOS. So that's kind of a memorable password. And you can choose how long you want it to be. So we go back to what, 31 character. Serializing 24513 fertilizations. Very long password, very strong.
Where did you get the path?
When you are creating a password for a site, there'll be a little key icon, and you can create, bring up the password assistant to create passwords. You can make it just letters and just numbers.
But where do you get that to begin with?
When you're creating a password on a site.
He's in keychain access, and then he did what?
But when you create a password on a site, the create a password option comes up.
Right, but then I just do the keychain.
You can click on the key icon to generate a password for you.
Right, I didn't know I had another option.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe I did that.
Then there's a federal standard, the FIPS 181. So government workers have to use a FIPS 181 compliant password. But for most people, just using a numbers, words and numbers. If I make a letter capital. Now, the good guys have gone through the list of stolen passwords and have found some trends. Many websites require a capital letter. So most passwords, the first letter is capital.
Yep.
So don't make your first letter capital.
Of course, the funny thing about all this password stuff is if somebody guesses your password correctly the first time, they're in.
Yeah. Yeah, so we talk about
so it doesn't matter how many millions of years you're talking about.
Yeah,
Right.
If they guess
it's
right.
like on the average.
Well, yeah, so if it takes 1,000 centuries to crack the password by trying every possible combination, on average, it will only take half that time. But yeah, you're right. It could be guessed in the first time. Yeah.
Or something,
It's like it just happened to come up randomly.
Yeah. So that's why you want to use a long enough password so that
You just
it
happen to guess
adds
the
that.
password.
Yeah.
So the main thing is to make it long enough.
Yeah. So we used to say 8 characters, 6 to 8 characters. That's really not long enough anymore. 10 to 12.
And then do they always try letters first?
Generally,
so
yes.
You should use other things than letters.
Well, the password analysis have shown that when there needs to be a number, it's almost always the year and almost always last. So that's why we like to say put the number in the middle.
I had a couple things I came across this week. One is the Music Modernization Act, which affects copyright. That apparently passed. Are you familiar with this at all?
No.
Okay, you want to look into that. The other thing that I came across just today, which relates to music, is called www.hooktheory.com. And they will actually analyze various songs and tell you what the...
if it'll be hooked or not?
Tell you what the water.
They'll tell you what the chord progressions are, like whether they're
Yeah,
using
it's kind of a...
a 4-5-1 or if they're using a tonic to 5 to 7 and to 4. Or,
So are you a musician?
Oh, yeah.
There have been algorithms that have tried to predict a hit song based on tempo and rhythms and beats. And did you say hookedmusic.com?
No, hookedtheory.com.
Hookedtheory.com.
It reminds me of something I just saw on Vice News. Are you familiar with Vice News? And it was a
That
music
didn't work.
app that they had developed. You take a singer and you would take some random text thing. They use negative restaurant reviews from Yelp.
Hook
And
Theory.
so the guy's singing in the style of Bob Dylan,
Hookedtheory.com.
and he's playing, the text of the stuff is about, don't eat the asparagus, that sort of thing. It was really, really quite funny. We were doing it in a club. Does anybody else here watch Vice or Vice News?
Where is it?
It's on HBO.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a nightly news show, and they just cover things you don't get in the regular news. They're out of Montreal.
So, the Trail Juicy, you should send it to.
So it looks
I
like
don't
they're
know.
they went through popular songs
Yeah, that's
and
pretty
figured out
cool, actually.
a pattern on why they were popular.
If you're someone like me who doesn't want to take the time to figure all these things out.
I think that's just so cool. To
Yeah.
Are you a musician?
Well, I started taking cello lessons.
Oh.
So. It's not the biggest, it's the one that you put on the front.
It's like a big.
It's the biggest one. You just
Neat.
And then they've got software that will help you to create music as well. Kind of like the perfect chord progression for whatever song you're trying to put in.
There is a book by Rob Reed. Was it Year Zero? Let me just look up Rob Reed. He was the original founder of Rhapsody, and he wrote a book called Year Zero. And then there's another one called After On, I believe it is. Writing. Where is it? Here it is. Year Zero. There are several Year Zeros, so it's a little tricky to find the right one. So it's word zero. The basic synopsis is through a cosmic fluke, humans are the only species with good music. So the rest of the universe finds us and downloads all of our music. So trillions of beings downloading every single song, trillions of copies. One of them discovers copyright law, because they'd never heard of that before. And the galactic law is that you have to obey the rules of the planet. So now the entire universe owes us more money than exists in the universe for trillions of copyright infringements.
Yeah.
And so they send a couple of lawyers to Earth to negotiate a settlement.
Mm-hmm.
And hilarity ensues.
Uh-huh.
But it's a really...
$3 trillion yada dollars.
Yeah. $3 trillion yada dollars.
I'm going to get some coffee.
So that'll bankrupt the universe.
So year zero is the
Yeah, Year Zero with the word zero. The audio version is read by John Hodgman, which is pretty cool. I thought it had its own. Let me try Amazon. It's a 2012 book, so it I don't know if it's still in print. We'll see if it shows up on Amazon. Oops, not 00. Year Zero. So there's a couple of different Year Zeros. You got to find the right one. Here it is. Year Zero by Rob Reed, and it's got an alien on the cover with headphones, which is actually a little similar to what the Rhapsody icon used to be. So it is still available. Let's see. Let's listen to the sample. Or not. It thinks there's audio playing. There it is.
When a planet lobs something that far into space, it tends to mean that intelligence has arisen on it. A footnote. Our planet was previously visited by some kids on a joyride during a time geologists call the cryogenic period. The kids were looking for fun. But the only cool thing about the cryogenic was that its name could be rearranged to spell things like organic yin, boy granite, and peon orchard. The Earth itself was nowhere near that fun back then, being barren, rocky, and home to only some microbes.
So John Hodgman, in his affable comedic voice, makes a really good reader for it.
Eligible for Amazon Smile.
Yep. Yeah, so don't forget to go to
Got
Smile,
it.
Amazon Smile. Yep. I ordered something from Amazon on Friday for the office, and then like 20 minutes later, realized I needed to order something else. Darn it! I could have done one, so I just ordered a second. Could have put it all in one order.
You could have just gone to the first one and canceled it, probably.
No, it already shipped.
Oh, no, they are fast.
Things are shipping so fast, yeah.
Oh,
And there's an Amazon lockbox in Greece.
But not only that, no, right on Clay Road now, they got a facility.
They're building that. I don't think it's open yet.
Okay, because, yeah, I said all the stuff is going to ship there.
Yep.
And then,
So we'll be able to get next day delivery, and same day delivery in some cases.
I have that
Oh, it's-
Prime anyway, but, which I use a lot.
Did you see Matthew's wish list for his birthday?
Oh, yeah, I think we're cooking.
Yeah, he's got a tools list, all the tools he wants.
Where is this list?
This is on Amazon.
Oh, you can do a wish?
Yeah.
And then you can publish that wish list to other people.
I see.
So, like a
Kind
gift,
of like a wedding
a wedding registry, yeah. And
The only thing I find is like if you're looking for someone's wish list, they might have lots of wish lists.
yeah, so he's
You gotta
got
figure out which is the
he's got
latest
several
one.
wish lists.
Yeah.
I get a kick out of his boat list. For a while, he wanted to get a boat. And so there's this kayak online, and for some reason it's $700. Not a kayak, a canoe. Why is a canoe $700? Yeah. So he's got this idea that he wants to buy a sailboat and then live on a sailboat, because then he won't have to pay rent. He said, well, no, you have to pay slip fees, and you're not going to want to live on a sailboat in the winter up here, are you?
Yeah, right.
So now he's talking about getting an old junker Jeep for the winter, taking his car off the. He took off the expensive stuff.
Oh, now he's a real
Yeah.
motorhead. He's got to have 2 cars.
Well, because he thinks the insurance will be less on an old Jeep, and I'm saying, well, no, Jeeps have pretty high insurance,
So
and the problem is he's young, and
he
that's
thinks it'll be less if he insures each one for half a year.
yeah.
Oh,
Don't
I could do that with my moped. Like it was a seasonal.
well, if you take your insurance off the car, you've got to turn in your license plate. But as I found when we switched cars for the office, if you want, you can have them hold the plate for you to get back, which I did because I had a custom plate. But a lot of people don't care. It's $1 to turn in your plate, and you get a new plate. Well, if your registration is still valid, then you get the same plate number back, or they print you a new plate. But some people just like their plates. But that's the big thing. If you take the insurance off your car, you got to take the insurance. In fact, they won't take insurance off your car until you show them you turned in the plates.
Right, yeah.
I think he had his airsoft list for a while. It was green gas. Oh, he took off his costume, or is that on the wish list?
Yes. I got a copy.
Yeah, he was doing Assassin's Creed for a while, so he had a costume he wanted to get.
Just to sit down in the chair.
Yeah.
Oh, how much is that? It says curling.
Yeah, it's not available. That's the problem sometimes, is the stuff you put on your wish list disappears.
Yep.
And then I got my wish list. It's one of those things where you oh, that's cool, add to wish list. Oh, that's cool, add to wish list. Oh, that's cool, add to wish list.
Next thing you know,
And next thing you know, you've got too many things.
you gotta start taking stuff
Take
off.
stuff out. No, you
I
don't.
wouldn't want anybody to know how much anything I wanted cost.
Well, that makes it tough.
A
I
couple-
mean,
Because
if
how are
no,
they gonna buy it?
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I mean, if somebody else was gonna, yeah, but no.
Not flat. We checked. I
Yep,
like that.
I like
That's
that
good.
one. And then the other one is Monty Python. Romans go home, conjugated properly.
Yeah.
Conjugated sword point.
Yeah.
How many Romans? All of them, sir. Romani.
Have you ever sold anything on there?
No.
Yeah.
So do you want to try working on this?
Yeah. You'll need an Ethernet jack.
I have Ethernet.
I don't know where his router is. You'll have to ask
I'll
Bob.
have to ask him.
There's his. So maybe right on the back of that one.
Can you do me? I've been on Facebook and forever because I'm afraid of. I don't know if this.
They just announced yesterday. We talked about it on Soundbites. There is a Facebook help page you can go to that will tell you if your information got lost in the latest. Excuse me, in the latest breach.
Yeah, I got it for that.
So thankfully, mine was not lost in the latest 30 million breach.
Because I just happened to go on here. I can't remember why, but then I see that. Where did I don't remember. Frank, where did I have it? It was events or something. Oh. Oh my god. It was events, and it's a
sit down,
Frankie Valley's Kodak Theater tonight.
Yeah, those events are a little interesting because I get notifications of it. People responded to events near me all the time.
Well, I had it. Well, if I had known that, I probably would have gone. But then I thought, well, then is it a real? How do you get to where do you find events?
Well, there's your events. I don't know how you get to other events.
Well, this was like a. Oh, okay. Wait.
Discover events? Maybe that's where it is. There's an airplane. Yeah, events. Go to events and then discover. It shows us all the events
We're
that
on
are
the
posted.
glide path for the airport.
The Bloody Mary Fest.
Planes come up Elmwood Avenue.
Yeah.
So they used to turn around just down here by the exit on Elmwood.
The Trans-Siberian Orchestra is coming to town. Name is Hamilton's in Buffalo. I've seen a few people have talked about going to that.
We're going to see Kenny Loggins in Niagara Falls, Canada.
Maker Faire, November 17th. Go see how things are made and become maked.
How did they redesign this?
All the time.
Okay, so what's the difference between Messenger, is it iMessage, and like the Facebook Messenger?
So the Facebook has a messenger. Apple has messages. Google has 4 or 5 different messaging apps.
So Messenger is related to Facebook, but you can have one or the other, or you can have both, but they're two
I
different.
think that can.
Yeah. So Messenger is a one-on-one.
Okay.
When you post something on Facebook, it goes to all your friends. When you do messages, it only goes to the one person you send it to.
It's kind of like sending an email, only it's kind of like a cross between
I was
text
thinking we
message
would go
and
into time.
Yeah.
Well, this is just a router, not a time.
Yeah.
And
that's
it's
all.
similar